And it's just wrong. You're not going to get any success. What do you want to have 5 million streams playing to zero fans because you're your only fan? That's the bot that's behind there. I just say don't do it. If you come across a good curator that's charging you, I don't know. I would really look into it and ask yourself that question. Do I want to lose in this? Do I want to have real organic fans or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
That's what
the
it is.
equivalent of buying followers on social media. And we are live. Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this week's episode of the Vana Room, sponsored by Jamvana. And today, I'm missing my right-hand man, Lennon. Lennon's like, I'm taking a vacation. Peace out. So God help us. He left Rob and I here to our own devices. So the cool thing is, we finally got the owner, CEO, president, and chief man in charge of Jamvana himself, Rob Lee. What's up, man?
I mean, I just had a baby, so that's the only
You
reason
did.
it's been a little hectic the last few weeks. But he's doing great, and yeah, I'm just happy to be back on. I missed you guys. I miss you guys so much.
Well, thank you so much for pausing your baby duties for today. I'm sure your wife is not appreciating it, so we'll make sure we get through this quickly. How about that?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so today's episode is about playlists. And I'm sure every artist, anybody who is trying to get their music out right now is or has heard of a playlist. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of playlist 101, and then we're going to ask Rob some questions about how to get on a playlist, how the aggregator plays a role in this process, and that sort of thing. But let's start with the basics, which is just defining the terms that we're going to be using in case there are some newbies here today that really are not familiar with some of these industry terms. So let's start with DSPs. Rob, what is a DSP?
It's a digital service provider, like a Apple, Spotify. But you can get it mixed up too, Mo, with another DSP for marketing, which is a demand side platform. So yeah, I had a conversation earlier about that today, and they were like, "What is a DSP?" When you say DSP, and I was like, "Oh yeah." So the abbreviations on both of them are the same, but the terminology we're using today is DSP as a digital service provider. Your streaming partners, your downloads, they're providing the digital service, and they're the provider.
So basically, all the streaming platforms that we go to stream music.
Correct. Every single one you go to streams at the digital service provider.
Okay.
Because they have digital in their service.
Correct.
And they're a provider.
It's pretty much a straightforward term. Playlist. So when we talk about a playlist, what are we talking about? What are we, or specifically a playlist in terms of the DSPs?
So I would look at playlists as like the new radio, way of getting your music out today, and what a playlist is sound recording on a mobile device, a streaming device, your computer, where you can listen to the audio and change them out as you go. But I like to look at it as like the new radio, because the more playlists you get on, the more streams you get, the more you get heard. Exactly similar to radio. Get on more radio stations, and you get heard, and that's how you can blow up a track. That's how you get more streams, and you get more of a brand awareness.
All right, and we're definitely going to dive into that a little bit further, because I definitely have some questions about that very thing. A curator. Who are we talking about, or what is the curator? What's the curator's job? Like, what can you give us some background on that?
So you as an artist or a label could be the curator. Mo, when you create a playlist today, you are that curator. You're the one that's curating your songs on that playlist for you to listen to, for other people to listen to. Similar to like a mixtape as well, right? That it's a DJ, but they're a curator. They're curating that music that they think is really good or hot in your top 40s for you to continue to play. And that's their job, is to pick out the best of the best for you to stay listening to that playlist. Not all playlists are great. You'll skip right through those playlists, and you're not going to listen to that mixtape and that radio station. They're not going to listen to it. But that's the curator's job. Like at Spotify and Apple, they curate like the top releases. You'll always kind of see them, and Amazon and SoundCloud kind of work together. Like what's hot, the top 50, the top 200, the top 100, and they curate what's hot from the Billboard and what's playing, what's performing at that time. But that's a curator's job at um, distribution companies. We have a couple of playlists, and we put some of our releases on the playlist, and it's honestly for our own use, so we can get streams for you to collect more revenue, but for us to just listen to your awesome darn music because we love it.
Is it true that curators are typically music journalists? Are they? I mean, I know you said any of us can be a curator, but the ones that have the playlist that um, people are really fighting to get on, is it true or is it accurate to say that most of those people are legitimate music journalists? Like they're coming from magazines or some other area where they already have a good reputation for picking out certain music. And um I mean, I already know the answer to this question, but just for our audience, um do these curators specialize in a particular genre of music?
Yes, definitely at the digital service providers, your DSPs. They have to. They have to make sure that they're curating the right tracks. They can't just put anything on there because of the saturation. So they are doing their homework on the artists. They are looking up the social media. They're making sure they perform across the board before they put it on there. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you got to think of that curator as a music journalist, to being very knowledgeable about almost every single person that they're putting on there, because at the end of the day, you wouldn't listen to it if they're not doing their homework on it. It just goes back to that. But yes, they are. And when it comes down to the genre specific, I think that all of our DSPs have different genres, and even the boutique shops like a Beatport with their top 100, because they do playlists on their Spotify. It's genre down to the genre. If you have somebody that's in house, tech house, it's all going to be separated. They have to focus on that one genre because that one genre has subgenres up underneath it. But you need a leader that's going to focus on just strictly that genre.
Do these
So that's why you do
do the
you do see.
curators, if Beatport is creating a playlist on Spotify, does that mean they're also creating a Beatport playlist on Apple Music, Amazon Music? So it's not just Spot. We talk about Spotify a lot because they are one of the largest, and they are the platform with the most um, subscribers. But um, so are these people creating playlists on all the platforms?
So for like going back on Beatport because they're a boutique, I see them on Spotify. I'm sure they're on Apple. I do think it's beneficial as a curator to artist, label, or manager to create a playlist on multiple DSPs, and keep it across the board because Spotify, Apple, SoundCloud, Deezer, Amazon all have them, and it's a great way of sharing your music. Yeah, I believe so. Beatport also has their own playlist for DJs. They own Beat Source as well, and the Latin side of it, and DJ City they also own, and they just keep buying up all these companies. But they have a lot of playlists with these companies that they create for DJs and DJ crates, which is the same thing as a playlist for you to plug in and play on Serato, and you have an amazing set. So to answer the question, yes, I think it's very important for you to not just focus on one, focus on multiple DSPs just to get your name out there, and keep all the platforms and engage and intact.
And how long, I don't know if you can answer this, but how long does a playlist stay up before the curator creates a new playlist to replace that one? Or do they leave that one that they already created and just keep creating new playlists?
So they will leave that playlist up if they have a fan base, followers, and you can find that out by your analytics, Spotify for artists, or you can go on Chartmetric and you can see how you're performing. But what we do is just keep our playlist. We see it's getting a following, and we switch out the songs. If the song is doing really well, you can see the performance, so you move it up the chart, almost like a top 100 of your playlist. So yeah, I think that that's important to have.
Oh, I
You know,
see now. So it's actually like if I created a playlist with 12 songs, let's say, and I'm looking at how many streams each of those songs or how many, yeah, how many streams each of those songs got, and there's a song on there that just is not doing well, I just delete it off the playlist, and then that makes room for another song.
right?
I
Exactly.
get it. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
like radio, like similar to radio, right? You
yeah,
have your
yeah.
top
Well,
10.
I'm definitely getting there to the comparison of radio for sure. So, since you brought up the comparison to radio while I try to retrieve the thought that I was having, Um, this is very similar to the record industry's relationship with radio with regard to spins. So we're talking about playlists here for these different digital platforms. And radio, the record label's trying to get X amount of spins per week, per month, whatever for their for a particular track for their artist. And this is basically the equivalent of that just on the digital side. So that brings me to this, Rob. Back in the 50s, there was a major problem with something called payola with regard to record labels paying DJs on radio stations to play their song. Um, and that Congress got involved, and it's 2022, but what people don't realize is payola has still been a thing in radio even into the 2000s, as recent as 2020, and I'm sure it's still going on just a little bit further on the DL. So with that being said, do as an artist, do I have to pay to get my song on a playlist?
You see that happening a lot. Uh, I say do not do that. It's against Spotify. It's all against all the DSPs terms and conditions. You could do, you know, it's so hard because so many of these companies spin up off a program called AOI Stream, and they bought your playlist. They'll bought their playlist. They'll bought your track, and it'll look like you're performing. And then you pay, and then it gets kicked off because it's got fraud, and then we have to report that. So yeah, where I'm going with this, the answer is absolutely not. Don't pay somebody to get your song boosted because unless you really have a great playlist like Warner or Sony or Beatport, it's really not going to perform. You're going to have to be on a lot of independents. But the payola is still very happening in the music industry these days, and I'm seeing a lot of tracks that not through our catalog anymore. We've super cleaned that up with the API we have through our DSPs, and we have flags that let us know, hey, this spiked up to 5,000 in this time and this day or 10,000, and we look into that and we report that. But what happens at the end of that is you're out of money, your track's gone, and if you get too many strikes, you can be kicked off the platform. And as an aggregator, we don't like that either, so we'll kick you off our platform. So uh, don't do it. Unfortunately, it's always going to happen, even with the major players. Money can solve a lot of problems in the music industry if you're trying to do payola. But with the curators these days coming up, be very wary of them. I think even on Chartmetric, it'll show that you're performing. And Chartmetric is a data site. They'll show you your social medias, your playlists, how you're performing. Is it a real playlist? If it's not, and 9 times out of 10, those guys are just bottomed themselves. There's only so many of them out there, like that Apple purchased or Spotify saw that they're doing very well, that are performing. I say go with an aggregator like ourselves and let us try to get you pitched to them directly on Spotify, curate it from their team's playlist, because then you're safe, you're not getting kicked off, and you will see
So
performance
are
from
you supposed to rat out the curator then? Like if I'm trying to get my song out there and then a curator is asking me for, and I don't even know, like what kind of money are we talking about here that the curators are asking people for? Like I've heard various numbers. Um, I read something not too long ago that said a curator can ask up anywhere between $1 and $6 per track. And then if I have a playlist that's super hot, take like Rap Caviar or something like that from Spotify, you could ask for what, $100 per track, something like that. So if somebody's hit me up for money to get on the playlist, who I just rat them out to the platform? Is that what I'm supposed to do?
So no, that's not how it works. We get an artificial stream report that comes through from the DSPs, and Spotify started this about last year, about a year back. And what it is it shows you how many artificial streams that they have, and they're not going to pay for it. So for us, when you get too many of them, we get deemed with that. So it's up to us to go back to the artist and label and say, look at your report that we got directly. Feel free to hit up Spotify or the DSPs, but this is what's going on. So for us to help you and stay on this platform, you got to rat out who you use, because then we got to report that back to the DSPs to make sure they're not getting hit with it again. We've taken down over 100 playlists, 100 curators, because we're not playing around. We're not messing around with that. You're messing with our business when you do that. And it's just wrong. You're not going to get any success. What do you want to have 5 million streams playing to zero fans because you're your only fan? That's the bot that's behind there. I just say don't do it. If you come across a good curator that's charging you, I don't know. I would really look into it and ask yourself that question. Do I want to get lose in this? Do I want to have real organic fans or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically
That's
the
what it is.
equivalent of buying followers on social media.
Right, exactly. Because you're just trying to look good for a gig, but when it comes to the majors and you're trying to get signed, if you think that's the way, they're going to go and pull the data legitimately. They're going to look at YouTube Music. They're going to look at YouTube. They're going to look at your website. They're going to do analytics on you to see if it's organic or not that you don't even know how to do. And that's a problem in the industry where these guys thinking they can boost, have a fast paycheck real quick and get out of here. And that's where the AOI stream application is bad, because you have all these guys that'll come in, make their millions, disappear, and then the artist is left empty pockets. So it's sad. We actually have a blog on Jamvana.com about not putting your music at risk using these playlists, and we shout out a couple of them that you just should
Very
pay
cool.
attention to.
Very
And
cool. So
yeah.
let's get to the questions that I'm sure the audience has been waiting for me to get to, which is about what should I be doing as an artist to prepare myself to even be pitched to a curator and actually, I mean, yes, I want you to answer that question, but honestly, who is pitching? Like, how do I even get my stuff to them or on a playlist? Are you guys, as the aggregator, doing that? And if you are, is there something special I have to sign up for? How does that work?
So the only way to get on the curators playlist is to sign up for Spotify for Artists, or have an account to where you can link your manager or your aggregator or your label does the same exact thing. Once your release is through our system, it'll pop up on your dashboard, and then you pitch it to the curators yourself. From there, for the extra umph to get us to get it pitched, just in case, then we'll come in and we'll send those to the DSPs as like our top 10 percenters of the month, because we can't send them all in. Or one percenters that are these are our priorities, and then we'll do an extra pitch on top of it. So, and at the end of the day, it's up to them. Your music has to be good. It has to be worth the playlist, the curator. But 9 times out of 10, when we do that, we also have a marketing plan behind it. We ask for, what's depressed? What do you have? Are you doing media? Are you doing Facebook, Google ads? Send all that information in, because the more information we have that we can submit over to the DSPs, the more they're going to look at it. We've gotten a lot of success from doing media and ads and sending over like our marketing plan and showing that it's performing, so they know we're not just trying to get on a playlist and collect an extra buck or get a little famous real quick. Like, we're showing you and providing the DSPs that, hey, these artists are really trying. This is the marketing behind it, and we're pitching it as our percenters to
So
get
you're
on
just
these
showing them
curators.
what marketing the
But
artist is doing. You, as the aggregator, as Jamvana, you are not doing the marketing. The artist is doing the marketing, and you're just passing along that information, correct?
that is correct, unless we have a deal with one of our artists or our labels to where we're paying for the marketing. And then that's just a different agreement, like altogether, that we have set up. But we have done that before, where we've taken on deals that are 75-25, where we keep 75, the artist gets 25, but we're putting in X amount of dollars for revenue on marketing. We're collecting all that back before you get your payout. I know it seems like it's a low payout. We have 50-50 deals that we put in place for that too. But if we do believe in your music that much and we're going to be backing it, you're going to recoup and you're going to get a fan base by it. When it comes to you pitching it yourself and sending it in and showing your marketing, we have tools for the marketing to help out. It's just a better guideline to how to get in front of the curator's face instead of just submitting it to it. Because again, the music industry is so saturated, and those kids in middle school and high school are making beats, and it's going to continue to get saturated. And it's hard to funnel through and comb through all of that music. So I think that you, again, going back to having a good marketing plan behind it. What are you doing? Pitch that to your artist, your label, or your distributor, and say that I've signed up, I've done my pitching. Can you help me do an extra pitch? And 9 times out of 10, we get it done.
I'm so happy to hear you say that because that really ties into other episodes that we have here on the Vana Room where we talk about what the artist should be doing outside of just creating your music. And so now, hopefully, everybody who's watching this or listening to this understands the significance in building your brand, working on your social media, because it's tying into all these other aspects of distributing your content. So, I'm so glad. I'm really happy to hear you say that. So, the royalties. Again, I don't know if you can really answer this question, but I'm gonna throw it at you anyway. Are the royalties higher if you get on a playlist? Because we talk about how, oh, this one only plays a fraction of this penny and this one's a fraction of that penny. So does the royalty get higher if you're on a playlist?
It depends on the subscription, the territory. It depends if that playlist has a following to where it's getting streamed, 100 times compared to one time. All that plays a factor. Different territories pay different currency rates. More followers that are super fans that are listening to your playlist and they're listening to it more, you're going to get more streams off that. The family plans, the free plans, the groups, that all plays a role because if it's a free account or a bot, because a bot can sign up for a free account and just hits play once, you're going to get paid a lower rate. So all that comes into play whenever you're getting paid and getting royalties from that. But if you get on a Spotify curated playlist, then you're going to get the more benefit out of it, especially if someone's liking your track. They'll move you up in the playlist and keep you on that playlist, and you're getting more streams that way.
The 2021 statistics for the music industry, 84% of the music industry's revenue came from streaming. So,
Yeah.
which is just crazy because we can have a whole nother conversation on physical uh, distribution. But with that said, um, is it really obviously it's I need to stream my music because that's where everybody's at. But is is a playlist that necessary? Or maybe a better question would be what artist should be trying to get on to a playlist?
I think playlists are like the way and the best tool to share your music, period. For the fans to reshare your music and to get them out, because it's not like a download where you're having to buy a download and then you're sharing it with your friends and they just got two friends and so on and so on. It's not like that with playlists. You can easily drag and drop and share it, and it could get picked up by someone else that's on the platform that's a subscriber, and they could put that on their playlist if they like it. Or I heard that song or Shazammed it, I'm going to put on my playlist. So I think it's very crucial to pay attention to your playlist, build them by genres, have a top 10, top 100, hip hop, rap, urban, country, whatever, and build it up. But yeah, I think anyone and everyone can be a curator. You do not have to make music to be a curator. You could just be a fan that listens, and you could have a curation whole bunch of playlists that people want to get on. And you could build it up to have your own radio station that's worth something. It is doable. It's just a lot of work, and you got to stay on it every single day. We really push our artists to do playlists. We have pre-saves that we can do pre-save campaigns to put the song in your playlist the day that it comes out on ahead of time. And we're also working on a tool to where we can create your playlist in-house. So every time that pre-save goes live on your system on our dashboard, it automatically updates your playlist because some users, they're never going to update their playlist. So we're working on a tool that automatically updates your playlist and it keeps it
Okay.
active for you. But to answer that
And
question, I
that
do.
brings me to a
Yeah.
question because now I'm a little confused. if I'm an artist and I've released an EP and now I have an album that I'm working on to release, let's say at the end of the year, why am I creating a playlist if my EP is already being distributed? So what's the point in me creating a playlist when you can just type in my name as an artist or whatever on the streaming platform and then you'll see all my songs.
Well, that could be just for your own needs on the playlist. And when you do create if you have only an EP and then just an album, I don't know if putting a playlist together is beneficial for you per se. I think putting a playlist together of all your hits and throwing your tracks in there to get mixed up and get scrambled with your playlist and sharing that with your friends. I think that is beneficial, and this way you could share it on your phone. You can share it with all your friends, anybody that has that app. But yeah, what you're talking about of putting a couple tracks out and creating a playlist, I think it's more beneficial for you doing that for your own fan base of the music that you like, you becoming a creator yourself. I don't think it's beneficial to put, an EP with 3 tracks on
Right.
it and then an album with 10 tracks on it together and trying to promote that.
I just didn't want
Um,
anyone
it just I don't
to
think that.
misconstrue what you were saying like, "Oh, I'm an artist, I've got songs, I'll create a playlist." That doesn't make sense. But like you said, if you've got a lot of work out there and you want to create a playlist of your top songs that you've written in particular, not just performed, but written, um, that would be great because a lot of times as an artist, you might write a song for somebody else and that song's doing really well. Add that song to your playlist on your page because that's just going to help you with your
Right?
royalties on your songwriting side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you know BTS or Cardi B drops 2 big hits tomorrow, and you put your track third, 9 times out of 10, the fans are going to listen to your playlist, and you might get streamed over, but they're going to listen to that track, and I think that is a benefit for you to have. When we talk about artists, I got to back up there because we have a lot of
Mhm.
labels, and a lot of artists
Yes,
are turning into labels. And what they'll do
I
is
got
sign
you.
their friends. No, they'll keep it under their name and their artist account, but it's still like that's similar to just how a record label is operating. And you see more and more of that happen because the artist understands, like, hey, I'm going to open up a little volume here and see what I can provide as a service on my end. So I think the artist getting is the first part. Second part is what can you do after that? When you're creating playlists, distributing your music, and so
This
on.
is great. I absolutely love this information. This is so helpful. Um, I remember now what I was going to ask you, and that is um, if a curator decides they're going to make room for a couple more songs on a playlist, do you guys get some sort of notification from the curators like, hey guys, send me what you got because I have room on my playlist? Or are those curators just waiting for somebody to come begging or are they going to look for songs?
They're looking for songs. And on the DSP side, they do help you out with the applications. Like if you create a playlist on Spotify or Apple, up underneath it'll have recommendations. So it'll have like a sound alike or a similar hit, and you just click add, and it'll add
Is
it
that
right to
coming
your
from the
playlist.
metadata?
I think that's a great
Is
tool.
that coming from the metadata?
That's coming from their system and their curators and the performance. Who's It's like Pandora. Pandora has great curators over there. You'll put a
Yeah, they
radio
do.
station on, and you'll be like, "Man, I
Yep.
forgot that track. This track is amazing. Remember that?" So it's the same thing with your playlist. They put those sounds under there, and it's and that just keeps you going. Then you get into it, then you want to add another track, and oh yeah, I remember that group. What about that group? Oh, I like that group, and it makes them search and more interactive with the platform.
You mentioned Spotify for artists, but are there other programs on other platforms that are similar to that um, artists or labels should be signing up for?
I think Chartmetric is one of those leaders in that field. You could just sign up to Chartmetric, and you can search all the playlists, and the curators on there, and you can reach out to them via Facebook or Instagram, whatever they have that they put their information on there, and you can really like dive into trying to get your releases on a lot of tracks playlists. Apple has Apple for Artists. Amazon's working on their They have their application now, but they're beefing that up. Deezer has one as well. And yeah, I think that you should pay attention to all of those. It's only brand awareness at the end of the day, and there's different fan bases on all of them. There's not everybody's got an iOS, and not everybody knows who Deezer is, and some people just use Spotify strictly. And I think that it's important to get on all of them so you can get that brand
You know,
awareness.
Tidal has one. Just out of curiosity, they didn't even make the
Title,
list.
sorry, yeah, I don't know why did I? And they should. Title actually is doing better these days and really beefing up their platform. And I don't know why I left Title out. Title's one of them, and you guys should be paying attention to Title. I think they're gonna, jumpstart everything here coming up and make a run for it. They definitely are enhancing the back end for distributors, and I like seeing that. And they have a new paywall set up because their paywall structure was a little nightmare in the beginning, but now it's a little more automated, and I think that that's another one that you should be sharing on. Their revenue splits are higher. So is Amazon for music. I think Amazon Unlimited is another one. I think that you should pay attention to those. If you can get those two going, there's a higher revenue rate, so you'll get paid more per stream compared to some of the other DSPs. However, the other DSPs have more subscribers, more of a subscription based model, and that's what drives it. But yeah, title's in there. Sorry, title's in there for sure. I would say pay attention to title, create your playlist. But that's another thing you have to monitor too. Like, are you going to sign up to all of them? We have some users will be like, my sign up and be like, my song's not on title. Well, do you have the app? No. I'm like, well, how do you know your song's not on title? I have the app. I just searched you. You're right there. And the same thing with Apple, and the same thing with Spotify. They haven't even downloaded the application, navigated it, understood it. They even see their music on there to perform. So it's important to where you're delivering your music. You're also signing up to those DSPs and understanding how they work. You won't really go far if you don't. You can't just focus on Spotify. That's just that's not brand awareness. you know, they're one of the leaders in the industry. They are a leader and they're great, but you just can't put your whole career off one DSP. What happens if something falls one day? So it's important to understand them all.
So throughout our conversation, before we wrap up here, throughout our conversation, I'm hearing a lot of positives to getting your music on a playlist or creating one. Can you Are there any cons that you can think of to pursuing a playlist? Or we did talk about paying to get on, but is there anything else that you can think of that maybe one of those things like, maybe I need to consider this?
Well, I think that it's like anything that you're going to do, if you're going to do it as a business or a hobby or just something to listen to, a lot of time and dedication is going to have to go into it. So, I would say the pro is helping artists and independent artists get out. Or if you're a label or a manager trying to help your artists off your label get heard, that's great. If you're just a DJ or just a curator and you love of music and that's all you love and you want to create your own, just think you got to pay attention to all the work, time that's going to go behind it, because to grow into a organic playlist or organic playlist company, it's going to take a lot of dollars and a lot of dedication. So you just got to look at that. And Chartmetric isn't free. You to do the advanced levels and understand your analytics, you have to pay for that, like everything else you have to pay for. So you got to put that down. You got to write it down like a business plan, I would say. But getting into it off the beginning, if you just have Spotify or Apple or Tidal, just create a couple playlists, start sharing them with your friends, and see if you get followers. Because I feel the more that you see that you get your followers, and then you have your artists that are your friends making music, and then you're helping them put it on there, it becomes a fun activity, fun hobby. Then that could turn into a business for you. So I think doing your homework is big on becoming a curator. But going back to what we were saying earlier, curators are paid from the DSPs, and that is their jobs at these DSPs to just curate. Distributors as well. Some distributors have, curators. That's all they do is they pitch to the DSPs all the time, just like we do all the time to the DSPs. We pitch all the time to get them on the playlist. So there is money. There's a job opportunity behind being a curator. So take that with a grain of salt if you're going to start into making it a hobby, and maybe you want to go further with it and maybe get some certificates behind it, because I don't think that they have a degree for playlists right now. But And the way COVID is, I mean, you can get hired anywhere right now if you want to work. So I don't think you really need that. But I think that you could do something with it if you really found love
And in
and a
case
passion for it.
anybody's going back to my comparison to terrestrial radio, the curator is basically the program director or the music director of this digital playlist. So the question is, or your skill, to Rob's point about, hey, you could turn this into a business or career. The question is do you not only know how to pick good songs, but do you know how to put them in the right order? You know, it's just like
Yeah.
a DJ putting their mix together. And is this playlist vibing? Like, is it getting you hyped up, or whatever the whatever the
In the
genre of
flow.
music is? But if you plan on making this a job for yourself, that's what you have to look at. Rob and I are kind of old school. Back in the day, we used everybody in our age group used to make
Please.
mixtapes. I was the mixtape queen, man. I'm about to start a playlist. You got me hyped now. I'm like, let's go.
Oh yeah, you can do that. And every song has to be bangers. You're right, because once you run into that one that's not and it slows down, it's getting pulled, or like they'll skip the playlist, they'll move on from it. So yeah, and we were. I used to do the mixtapes myself, and they break. You got to rewind the tape to get it back to it. There's so many times it takes me. I thought about trying to do a physical product with a mixtape. You know, Merchandise, and package it up as a package with one of my artists and one of my labels. I mean, and you see BTS right now; they're doing some of their tracks on physical product only. You have to get it through a CD. So it's still out. You got to get
I
creative
still
with it.
I
But
I
Mo,
still
I
have
think
CDs, so I'm not
you can
mad. But you will not see me go out and buy a cassette player. That's not happening.
make. But I think about that CD booklet you have with all the CDs and you're going through that you've organized. That's
Correct.
your playlist. That's where the really is started back in the day, is that CD booklet that you had from the skating rink days, and you flipped it over and you put that CD in there and you had the artwork and all the credits to it. That's a playlist. It's just, today it's now transformed into
Oh,
a, a,
that's
a
so
digital
funny.
playlist. Streaming.
Well, Rob, thank you so much for giving us your time today, buddy. I hope we can get you back when Lennon comes back on, so the three of us are the three musketeers again, like we started. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, I'm
Well,
coming
and
back
and you
for
can
sure.
give baby Jovi, what do I call it, Jovi, Jamvana Jovi, a little FaceTime on our podcast next time.
I know. I have Maverick and Bon Jovi come on because they're just amazing. I love them. They're my two boys, and baby Bon Jovi. We named him Jovi Gene. But baby Bon Jovi is like, he's a mini me, and he's gonna be a big boy. He is. He's growing so fast, and he's just gonna be a big boy. Maverick took forever to hit 25 pounds. I'm like, we can't go on a boat until he hits 25 pounds. That's like the law. So Jovi's at 10 pounds right now. So it's like, he was born 3 weeks ago. He's at 10 pounds. So it's
Well, here's
fun.
what
I
you need to
know.
do. You need to get Maverick and Jovi and play some kids songs and create a Jamvana kids playlist based off of which ones get your kids moving. How about that?
Yeah, don't get me going there. I'm already like, I'm already into all the kid stuff as is, and I produce music still, and I got some tracks that I sing to him on the way. And you should turn this into like a Baby Shark thing. And I started like remixing it all in the same sound, and yeah, I got it. So that's on the
That is
list. Trust me, that's on
hilarious.
the list.
Well, once again, guys, that wraps up another episode of the Vana Room. If you have any questions, you guys know how to reach us. Just look down underneath the video there. You got all our contact information. If you have any questions or anything following up on this topic that you want us to maybe do a follow up for you and answer some questions, just let us know. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next time on another episode of the Vana Room.